Welcome back to the Resilient Philosopher. This is DL Dantes, and like every other week, there is a great topics to talk about. There are great topics to talk about on a daily basis. But today I remembered a quote from someone who shall remain anonymous. He said, "If they did it to me, they'll do it to you." Now, these words were important because he helped a person achieve what they wanted. But he leaves a void. If they did it to me, they'll do it to you. This is a reasoning that can be useful, but it becomes a bit manipulative when used improper. Why? Because we don't all perceive or feel the same way about everything. I can remember at one point where a person that I knew was protesting that another person did not understand their point of view. I just can't believe they don't agree with me. How could they not agree with me? Are they blind? I mean, how is it possible? And I just simply looked at them and I said, the same way is possible that you don't agree with them. See, that is part of what freedom of speech is. We have the right to say what we want. Now, there is consequences and there is certain speech that shouldn't be used. I'm not here to debate the First Amendment because by being a host of a podcast, I myself benefit from the First Amendment. What I'm here to discuss is the intricacy of those words. Because those words can also be used as if they did it to them, they'll do it to you. See, in every relationship, in every system, there is a two-way operation. You got to give to receive, and when you receive, you give back. And that is something that is within human nature. I mean, the fact that we have to breathe in, or you have to breathe out. So it should be almost part of our survival instinct to believe that if something happens to us, it could happen to anyone else. But it's a lot harder to think and to reason the fact that if it happens to someone else, it can happen to you. And the only way that you can start thinking in that manner is if you become emotionally intelligent. See, when you feel attacked, you start attacking others, whether it's verbally, physically, or everything. And we justify it as self-defense, which again, I'm not here to discuss the meaning of self-defense in a law or in any other aspect. This simply bringing awareness to perspective, to perception. We have to remember, as members of a society, that what is not good for one might not be good for anyone else. When we start thinking that everything bad only happens to us, we lose the ability to think that everything bad could happen to anyone. So when we vote, when we go to work, when we take an assignment, we can't think we're above. Because today you might be above, but tomorrow you might not. And it's that realization that should make you humble, that should make you think twice about rejoicing in what happens to others. Personally, I have kids in school. I've had kids that are not now in school, but during the time that they were in school, my biggest fear was always to get that phone call of a shooting, of a bomb threat, of a childish so-called joke by students. And the reason why that was embedded in my mind was because I was in this country, unfortunately, when the Columbine mass shooting occurred. And that changed the way that schools operated back then. It changed security in schools throughout the whole entire country. Yet, as much as people have tried to change the laws to prevent further shootings, we have seen it repeatedly over time. And there are arguments about how much can the government regulate. And there's arguments for the Second Amendment, which I also agree with. I believe in the Second Amendment. But it doesn't change the fact that I have kids that go to school. So I'm biased towards having more regulations when it comes to the Second Amendment. The thing is, what about if I didn't have any kids? What about if I didn't witness or I wasn't in school, I should say, during the Columbine shooting? That happened in Colorado and I was far away from it, so I didn't get to witness personally, but I did witness the news and the outcome after the shooting. Because it changed across the country how they addressed mass shootings in school. They put protocol in places, people fought against it, people didn't think that it was right to be so dramatic, to be. But there's the thing. If it happened to them, it could happen to me. Personally, I became more aware of how I treated my fellow schoolmates. I became aware that when you push enough, people will push back. And what is perceived for so long as bullying, an acceptable microaggression, became something greater once we saw the outcomes of every mass school shooting that has come after Columbine. Yet there is still people that don't believe in regulations, that think that having the right to bear arms means having the right to have any guns of any kind. That is a given right to own a gun. But what would have happened if your child would have been in school where there was a mass shooting? Would your perception change? What happened if it was a family member or a person that you know personally, close to you? Would your perception change? What if it was in your community and you saw how the trauma went across the whole school, went across the whole town? How children's perception and innocence was lost due to something so horrendous. Would that make you change your point of view on regulations on the Second Amendment? Because it is important for us as a society, from an ethical view, to understand that there is a cause and effect. And the choices that we make today, the decisions that we make today, might not bring the outcome today. But are you willing to live your life knowing that you were complicit in the consequences? Do you accept that by staying silent against injustice, against victims, you become complicit with those causing harm? That when you are willing to stand behind slogans and ideologies instead of humanity as a whole, you're becoming complicit with the outcomes of the actions of those leading such slogans, such ideologies? Because I've witnessed personally what happens when we allow ourselves to become blinded by ideology, by slogan. I wasn't raised in a household where there was complete liberalism of ideology, that you could be anything that you wanted. No, I grew up in a house structured around Christianity as a Jehovah's Witness, only to witness how the hypocrisy within the movement of Jehovah's Witnesses was just as bad as any other denomination in Christianity. Because we tend to believe that we are the only ones that need protection individually. Because if it happens to me, it can happen to you. It's such a slogan that is so personal, that is so self-reflective, that you forget the message behind it, the narrative behind it, and without you realizing it, you become complicit in the outcomes due to cause and effect. To lead is to serve by empowering others to become stronger, to see what they themselves don't see yet in them. But when we refuse to empower others, when we elevate leaders that are narcissistic, that only care about the few and not the many, we become complicit in the outcomes of their decisions. That is why, as stewards of leadership, we must come to the realization that what is not good for others can be good for us. What can harm 100 people should not be justified to elevate 1,000. We either all take risk together, or we don't take a risk at all. We must understand that the division created within any system is to benefit the few while harming the most. I will have a article expanding on this episode and visionleon.com. And I hope to see your comments in that article. My book are still available on the website to be downloaded for free in digital format. And if you want a physical copy, a printed copy, there is a paperback and a hardcover copy available through Amazon. Anything that you do for us, whether sharing our post or sharing the episodes, gives us support to continue doing the work that we're doing as a family. Personally, I have made it my goal to not just finish my bachelor's degree in a year or so, but I'm actually looking forward to starting my master's. And this is why lately I've been concentrating my work more into leadership focus, because I am going to start offering training modules for leadership. And if it is your desire to learn more about my philosophy in stewardship, leadership, then I invite you to visit my website, visionleon.com, and get acquainted with my work. Unfortunately, this project or not even project, but my goal of teaching leadership will require to pay for it, because I will dedicate more time. It's going to be more inclusive work to work with individuals or with a team. But I always look forward to giving my best, because if I give my best to you, you will give your best to others. But most important is that you know that no matter what happens, it has been through failure that I've built the resilience to be here today, to be able to express my words into writing and into a podcast. Because I made one decision, that to remain silent in the midst of chaos is to become complicit with the outcomes. And if you see your reflection on those words, I invite you to come back every single week for a new episode of the Resilient Philosopher. Remember, always show up for yourself.